Discourse 22, December 15th, 1932. Saint Germain. Invocation. Thou infinite abiding presence, thy all-pervading light, thy opulence of substance is omnipresent and all-pervading. We open the activity of the outer consciousness into the conscious direction, and molding into form of every good thing we desire. We give praise and thanks for thy intelligent action in these minds, with thy love, thy wisdom, and thy power to guide them, to raise them into all perfection. I bring you greetings from those ascended ones who ever minister to the messengers of light, wrapping their mantles of light, illumination, and protection about them. The Discourse. I had not intended to explain quite yet the undesirability of any thought or condition of the psychic plane, but the demand compels it to come forth. In the first place, the student must understand that what is called the psychic plane has nothing whatever to do with spirituality. It is a faculty of the human consciousness which can be brought into play by human beings who will give sufficient attention to it. But the individual who wishes to reach into the psychic plane alone, either consciously or unconsciously, had better never been born into that embodiment. The fascination of the phenomena of the psychic plane, I assure you, is most alluring, for those whose attention becomes firmly anchored in the psychic plane do not loosen themselves from it in the embodiment, and it may take several embodiments to free them. In all strata of consciousness there is a fragment of truth unrecognized. Otherwise it would not be possible for it to be sustained, because you must understand that in all things and in all activities there is some, more or less, of the God energy acting, misused truly but nevertheless active. The sincere student will give no attention to the phenomena of psychic seeing or hearing, but understands that he must push directly through, by the power of the inner will through his outer determination, and enter within the electronic belt where only the truth is expressed. Beloved students, while it is necessary to explain this, I want you to make up your minds not to have any fear. Within the psychic stratum of thought and feeling is the principal activity of what we know as the sinister force in this world. Sometimes souls with splendid inner attainment, not understanding the true reality of this of which I speak, have allowed their attention to become drawn to this stratum because of the premature awakening of this physical faculty by a semblance of truth being presented to them in some phenomena enough to hold their attention. After the attention becomes fixed, everyone, without exception, will find that semblance of truth disappearing. One of these attributes, which is perhaps most fascinating, is the false prophecies which are made, causing the individual to make wild prophecies, and once in a while, one being fulfilled in order to bind the attention more strongly. With this, there is also a certain substance which is drawn into the brain. I may not yet fully explain to you. This makes it impossible for the master to interfere with the help of the individual, because of his own free will by which he has accepted it. There are a few cases, however, in which the individual realized the mistake before he had gone too far, and by intense calling to be liberated, one of the brothers was sent to release the individual completely. There is occasionally a rare nature who, because of its great purity, passes through this psychic stratum without ever knowing it or contacting it. This kind of individual is very fortunate indeed. The forces within this stratum will work most directly upon the feeling nature, and this means upon the passion of the individual, because it is most easily reached. Men and women who have lost the controlling power over their passion, which may be either sex or anger, have knowingly or unknowingly become entangled in the psychic stratum of thought and feeling, thereby opening the doors of their beautiful and wonderful temples of God. Through the open door, the forces within the psychic stratum fasten upon them, intensifying their own passion into an uncontrolled condition, which otherwise might be controlled. Far better had such individuals walked into a den of rattlesnakes, for then they would have but thrown off the physical body and been free. But once enmeshed in this psychic sphere, they are often bound for many embodiments. Why is this? Because they make records within their mental worlds from which they do not know how to extricate themselves. Consequently, these souls are reborn again with those same tendencies, until after the second or third embodiment they become the depraved creatures you see about you wherever you go. Sometimes the influence is cunning enough to hide this from the outer world for a long time, thus carrying on its nefarious work, as it thinks in secret. Here comes the most heart-rending part of this explanation. I mean to say, it seems so from the outer sense. On the higher planes of activity, there are great and beneficial souls who volunteer to go into this stratum to help, through their radiation, to break its hold upon humanity. These volunteers are both masculine and feminine. More often, however, they are feminine, This explains why beautiful souls in a feminine embodiment become united in outer marriage with the masculine soul who has become enmeshed in this psychic condition. Often the individuals thus enmeshed become most cunningly sensitive and with remarkable accuracy sense conditions, thus many times causing others with whom they come into contact to temporarily think it is real. If individuals coming into the point of being united in marriage, man-made, would call out to the God within, the mighty I Am Presence, that if this marriage is taking place through the desire of passion, then let it never be done. Great grief and torture would thus be avoided. Now we come to the real part. The individuals who, through their own efforts or through instruction being presented to them, get the true understanding of what the mighty I Am Presence means, that it is the true and mighty self, and hold earnestly to it. Never again can they be drawn into these discordant things, unless from their own volunteering from the higher plane of activity, where they know exactly what they are doing. War periods more readily than any other open individuals to this psychic plane. Consequently, it has always been observed that after war period, there is always a great unleashing of the uncontrolled passion than any other time. Knowing this should in no wise cause anyone to fear this psychic stratum. If students find themselves conscious of passing through it, they should instantly take the consciousness, I am, the controlling master presence, always victorious. And they will instantly find strength to face whatever appears and go fearlessly and serene through. Jesus suggested this explanation be given while the students were under the triple radiation. This triple radiation means that in his radiation, he always carries with it the triple activity of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or the I Am Presence. All who apply the I Am Presence are receiving the triple activity as long as they maintain it, and the triple activity is always self-sustained. Astrology. One of the saddest things I have to say to you is that many of these attempting to cast horoscopes are unknowingly drawing themselves into the psychic net and are becoming sensitized and voicing the adverse conditions which exist only in this stratum. This is one of the most unfortunate activities because the individual is so entirely unaware that he has opened his door, until he has become so enmeshed that no amount of argument or reasoning will change his belief in astrology. In the past 20 years, the avenue of astrology has been used for this purpose more than any other. Many times through this, the thought or radiation from this stratum says that certain conditions will manifest for the individual which he cannot avoid. If it is not said in so many words, it is felt through the radiation. This is one of the principal reasons why the last cataclysm of Atlantis occurred, and why the people of Atlantis, in the great majority, refused to listen to the wisdom of the masters, who prophesied from reality the destruction of Atlantis. I understand, beloved students, that some of you have been so interested in your horoscopes may think I'm being severe. However, such is not the case. But my love for you is great enough that I may speak to you the unadulterated truth. If you cannot believe the truth I speak to you, then you must go on your way, for you are individuals of free will, which I have no desire to interfere with except that I am privileged to point the way. Individuals who will cling tenaciously to the I Am Presence need never, anytime, anywhere, ever fear any of these things, because it will correct them and hold them steady on the true pathway of light, up whose golden stairway they may climb with definite precision into their full dominion and perfection. I assure you, beloved ones, that my heart goes out with all strength to the individuals whose attention is held on astrology, for they are so unaware of the pathway strewn with thorns which they have entered upon that will pierce their feet, causing them to cry out in agony, and only when that agony becomes great enough will they call out with all their being and say, O God, show me the true way. Beloved students, you who so earnestly seek the light, know there is but the one presence that is your invincible protection, and that is the great I Am Presence, God in you. Do not let your attention ever be held by these many outer manifestations, astrology, the power of numbers, spiritualism, or any of the many things that would take your attention away from the mighty I Am Presence, which is your real self. If you turn to it all times, it will lead you in the pathway of light, strewn with the rarest flowers whose very fragrance will enfold you with that strength and peace that passes understanding, with that stillness of the outer which will enable you to enter into the great silence, wherein you will find the greatest invincible activity of God, the I Am Presence. Beloved ones, surely you must understand that you cannot serve two masters and gain any victory ahead. Having free will, you must choose. If you choose the outer, forgetting your invincible I Am presence. Then my love goes with you, enfolding you in its mighty mantle of protection until such a time as you choose to return to the one God. If you choose your I Am presence and adhere to it, then your struggles are soon over, and you will find yourself moving in that sphere of peace, harmony, perfection, wherein you look upon the outer world with great compassion, but never with that human sympathy which would stifle your own growth. This reminds us of the old time-worn statement, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all the outer things are added or given into your use under your command." That kingdom of heaven is the great I Am presence, the only reality of you, who is the owner and giver of all created and manifested things. Is it not strange, beloved students, that one will so long wander about in discord and limitation, when the master presence of light, the I Am presence, walks by one's side at all times, waiting one's decision to turn to it and receive its radiance, glorious blessing and perfection in all outer manifestation? Such is your privilege, O beloved ones. In spite of all outer activity, the atmosphere of the class is true divine. When I am sorry that some have not felt the true importance of their I Am presence, and that they still reach out to other things, I but wait, enfolding them in my love, for they have free will. Perhaps I'm a little too old-fashioned, but when I see individuals that are so good and so fine, I would just like to pick them up and hold them in my embrace until they could realize the full importance of their own mighty I Am presence. But this I may not do, for I so well know that all have any desire left to reach to the without must do so until that desire is no longer apparent. The students must understand that they cannot divide their outer attention between the I Am presence and outer things, for it is a house divided against itself and must sooner or later fall. All greatness is dependent on the I Am presence, and it is the governor of the form, or should be. It is all strength, courage, and power. Those blessed children, if they could only realize fully what a privilege stands at their door, and how in a comparatively short time they could gain freedom from all limitation. This dictation, the situation is this. When students ask if they might listen to these dictations themselves, they are entitled to the explanation of what is necessary for the work of this kind, for it is most unusual, we know. The fact that the one God is always perfect, always was, is now, and always will be, and the I Am is that presence. But if you have not been aware of this, the body and brain of the student must go through a period of adjustment. That adjustment of the outer self takes weeks, months, or years to accomplish according to the requirement of the student. Never in the history of the preparation of students has the master ever allowed them to come within his own inner electronic circle. The students come, or are taught of the application, but they never come into the inner electronic circle of the master himself. The electronic circle prepared here for this work has required 30 years of preparation, and no matter how beautiful the radiation and love of an individual are, we do not have the time to prepare and adjust the atomic structure of the brain and body of the students at this period of world crisis. But with their sincere determination and use of the I Am presence, they will be prepared for the presence of the ascended host. The atomic structure is a mechanical instrument, and the innumerable parts must work in harmony and perfect cooperation with each other. The students do not understand that when a certain definite, specific work is to be done, there must be definite preparation for it. For illustration, take one by whose nature is endowed with an unusual quality for giving forth lectures in public. If he is to have the assistance of the ascended host, there must be special preparation for it. The individual would be so prepared that from 20 minutes to half hour before the lectures, that one would be enclosed in a tube of light into which nothing entered except the radiation of the inspiring master. Benediction. Out of the fullness of our hearts, O mighty presence, we give praise and thanks for thy love, wisdom, and power. We give praise and thanks for the mighty rays that have gone out to each student today. We give thanks for the intensity of this focus that quickens the assurance within the students of the truth of their mighty presence of the I Am, which is the true self. Strengthen them, each one, with that firm determination to hold to that one presence which is all freedom, all perfection, eternal youth, and beauty. Notes. Question. Is the god Miru large of stature? Answer. The god Miru is about 7 feet, and of the most wonderful proportion. The god Himalaya is about 7 feet 2 inches. The god Tabor is 8 feet. He comes from a very, very ancient race of